What's up, everyone? This is Ronnie just coming to you today with a quick video. Just going to talk about a subject that gets brought up a lot. Does a location where you live play a fact in what you source? And I kind of think this does a little bit. Um, it does to a certain extent in some places and other places, and I'll bring up some ideas about this and so on and so forth. For most of you know, we live outside of Boston, about an hour south of Boston. So we live in the New England area, and for the most part, most of the other New England resellers that I know, YouTubers, etc., buy and sell kind of the same thing as we do. We're clothing sellers, and we all find the same stuff for the most part. We tend to find a little bit more high end stuff, I guess. But then I know also resellers in Rhode Island, Connecticut, um, New Hampshire come across the same stuff, believe it or not. I mean, is it the region? Is it the area? And then I look at it at other areas, and I would think if you live in probably a top 20, 25 city in America, if you went to enough thrift stores and you figured out the their systems a little bit, you would be able to find stuff. This stuff would be there because I'm talking like Austin, Houston, probably Dallas, Miami, DC, LA. I think San Diego. I mean, San Diego is a pretty big city. Because people do tend to dress up. People do tend to buy nice stuff for work and so on and etc. And that stuff eventually does get what's the word? Donated. Uh, you know, so the stuff's out there. I mean, then there's people like April from the Learning Curve, and she lives um I forgot where exactly, but she lives in the middle of an area that I would think would not come across so much stuff, and she's come across some great finds on a regular basis to make me feel like, it's out there. Now, if you know how Goodwill operates from a hub, and they send their donations scattered across. So I've been upstate New York, which is a very depressed area. We're talking Oneonta, Utica, Albany area, Elmira, Binghamton, Triple Cities over there, Syracuse, and you don't find the greatest finds up that area. But going to some of the stores, the Salvation Army is more especially, I've been able to come across a lot of higher end stuff, and a lot of times it's due in fact to um, their distribution is down by New York City, so they get everything into that distribution, then they distribute everything. So it doesn't matter what area you live in, the possibility to get good stuff is out there. I mean, we've been in the middle of Oneonta, which we go to because my parents live in Cooperstown, which is a little bit out. Oneonta is the main city in the area, very small city, believe it or not. And it's not really thrift store in the area, as they had one in Norwich. They closed that one actually. But I've come across Brioni, Gucci, just real crazy brands here and there. And it's a very small thrift store. They tend to be a little bit overpriced, but the stuff is there. The stuff is out there. And I've come across other little pockets of stuff in that area, but it's more random than anything. It's kind of like you got to go out there, you got to hit it every day, and the stuff is out there. I mean, that's why we find as much stuff as we do, higher end stuff, is because we really. I'll go to my local thrift store 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week. I'll go every day. Um, if I have to find stuff. And believe it or not, I could go there at 4 o'clock at night and then come around and turn around and go in there the next day at 11. and find stuff that wasn't there the day before because they're thrift stores in general, Salvation Armies and Goodwills, no matter the size, usually put out 1,000 pieces of clothing a day. Now, some stores put out a lot more. I know some Salvation Armies that they put out between 5 and 10,000 pieces of clothing. These are bigger stores. These are stores probably the size of like a Walmart, a Kmart. They're huge, but they go through so much stuff and they get so much donated. That's why this business is very relatable to a lot of people, and a lot of people can do it. A lot of people can talk about it because there's abundance of stuff out there, and there's stuff for all different people's price points. A lot of people do well. Like we don't live near a Goodwill outlet bins, but if we did, we got to go into Boston for it, and it's very small, and it's really not my thing. But I know a lot of people do well. I mean, our guests from last week, the Gilmans on Pickers Church, they had one in their town, and that's how they got started doing a lot of stuff. They used to go there every few times a week, pick up stuff, resell it, and it worked for them. And that's the thing, finding out what works for you also. But back to the distribution thing. So Goodwill does the same kind of thing for us here in the area. They get stuff and then the stuff gets trucked into Boston. Most of Goodwills are in Boston. There's not too many outside of Boston. There's one in Worcester, in this part of Massachusetts. Most of them are in Boston, though. I think there's like 7 or 8 in Boston. There's one on the Cape and one in Attleboro, which is kind of within a half hour of Boston. So most of them, for the rest part, are in Boston. Quincy, I would consider a suburb of Boston. It's not that far away, but their stuff gets distributed all around. Yes, they may keep some donations and price some stuff for the local store that gets the donation, but a lot of that stuff gets distributed out. Now, I was also told the same thing with Savers. Savers get stuff trucked in from other areas. The stuff gets brought out, and then they bring new stuff in. I'm not really sure why stores would do this. It seems very crazy, but most thrift stores, unless it's like a small church thrift store, like a St. Vincent de Paul or something like that. I think they keep their own donations, but a lot of basically these 3 larger thrift stores you do find in the area, all just send their stuff out and it comes back in, and so stuff goes anywhere. I mean, stuff can be donated here in the Cape, but then it winds up in Rhode Island or wherever, and that's just unfortunately how it goes. So it doesn't even matter really. I mean, yeah, you could find some good skillers if you're looking at certain pockets of area, but stuff gets all thrown around. And we've been up and down the East Coast, and we've done well in the East Coast in general. Outside of probably Daytona Beach, I've done well finding stuff. Not sure if I could do it on a regular basis. I don't know if it's just luck and I'm getting lucky going into some of these stores on a regular basis. Like, we've done really well in Richmond, Virginia. And, there's Jim Butler who lives in Richmond. He finds similar stuff to us on the most part. So, Valet Picker, he lives close to us. We find kind of the same kind of stuff all the time. So it's kind of interesting. It's always, I try to watch, but then there's other pickers that I understand because of the areas they live in, they can't find the same kind of things. Um, for like Parrot Head Picker or Ride and Grind Picker, they kind of don't find the certain similar things that we find. And I'm not sure how far they live from big city. I know in Chicago we did really well. Sometimes you have to go, if you're going really only on one day a week, there's probably a pattern into your things of what you're gonna find because people go there Monday through Friday, so on and so forth. I know a lot of people, they only go to a store one day a week, and it's gonna be harder and harder to find stuff because you're not hitting the stuff, hitting the stores as often as other places. But also, you got to find out what's good in your area because like places like Austin or maybe Denver or maybe the outdoor stuff may be big. You may find more outdoor stuff or cowboy boots like in Texas or Florida. You may find more like sh- casual shirts or more swimming trunks that are good. There's always stuff out there that's available to find this resell. It's just people sometimes try to mimic other people's businesses, and it's not always the greatest thing in the world. You kind of got to go by what you can find. Don't worry about mimicking somebody's business. Don't worry about what else somebody is doing. Just worry about what you can do, what you can find, and what you can sell. At the end of the day, nobody's going to pay your bills but yourself. So you got to kind of do what's best for you and what's out there in your area. Like if you got a bins 2 minutes from your house, maybe it's worth going there. Or maybe there's like when we go upstate New York all the time, there's auctions. So Chad talks about this all the time in Indiana. There's auctions every night of the week, several auctions. If I live back home in upstate New York, because the thrift stores are not the greatest, and I wouldn't drive all over the place, even though I've had some luck. But there's time where I hit 10, 12 thrift stores in a day, and it really wasn't worth my time going out to all those stores. It would be better to go to all these auctions instead and pick and choose what's there. You could also look at the pictures. You get an idea what they have, what's going to be available. You could look stuff up and kind of get an idea of what you're interested in and go to these auctions. It's kind of, one of those things. Estate sales are always fun to go to, and estate sales are basically held in most larger cities in the country areas. It's a little bit different. Like I know when we lived upstate New York, things were a lot differently when it came to most. Sometimes they're run by the family or so on and so forth. So they become like a huge garage sale. I mean, there's people that make money just off of yard sales, like Lonnie Garage Flips, or um, Cincinnati Picker found something in his area that there wasn't, and came up with an idea for an auction and does really well with the platform he built. Or Steven Steff Resell Killers. They live very close to a pallet place via trading, I believe, and they get that stuff and they can sell it fast. And because it's close to them, they can actually go and physically visit and see that stuff. So I mean, there's so many different ways you can make money. It just depends on your area, the source for money. Look at uh, taco stacks. I mean, the guy goes out and can garage pick. We can't do that out here. There's no garage garbage days where people go out. There's none of that. We can't go out there and source garage sales. I mean, garage sales. Um, trash days and stuff like that. They get a little bit of money. I mean, it would be cool to figure out what people would have. My wife would probably bring home every piece of furniture, which would drive me crazy. But I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this. Just because you fall in love with a channel or fall in love with somebody's what they're finding, or you want to. Sometimes it can't be duplicated where you are, and you kind of just have to figure out what is in your area. And this is a big reason why we want to take our trip and go around the USA, even Canada, just to see. I'll go to any country that has a garage sale or has a thrift store, has some place I can source, flea markets, whatever. I will be there trying to find something. Um, just because I think it will be fun because we've done it on a small scale into like only the Midwest and eastern area of the U.S. Down to Florida and across to Chicago, all through New England and eastern states. But I think it would be fun to see what other places bring. I think it would be fun to go to thrift stores in the middle of North Dakota or South Dakota or these other places. So That's just my thing. Just figure out what's best in your area for you and do it. And it can be so much fun and so much rewarding working for yourself. But sometimes you just can't give up. You just got to figure out what's best in the area and keep pushing. And that's all it is. We started off with electronics. We started off on Amazon with books, electronics, on Amazon, eBay, and that kind of dried up for us to where we stumbled into clothing and kind of just learned it really quick. But it took us a little while. We almost quit eBay a few times. So, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Just keep your head up and look around your area and figure out what's best for your business and what way you can get some extra money or even make a full-time living off of this. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys later. Have a good day.